He posed as a pilot and a doctor at 17. He forged checks and swindled millions of dollars. He just passed the bar exam. He was ready to get married, but the cops showed up at his door. Now, watch how Frank slips onto a plane right under the police's noses. Tom was certain Frank would board a flight here. He sent 50 plainclothes officers to stake out the airport. Frank walked into a phone booth. He called a flight attendant school and said the airline was hiring. Then he put on his pilot's uniform again and headed to the school. He announced he'd pick 8 students to be future flight attendants for the company. The students went wild with excitement. Frank ran a strict selection process. In the end, he chose 8 beautiful girls with different styles. And just like that, they showed up at Miami International Airport together. Frank had only one goal: to use these 8 girls as cover to board the plane smoothly. He stood in the middle of the group, walking past countless cops and crowds. No one paid him any attention. All eyes were on the 8 stunning girls. Tom got a call that a man in a pilot's uniform was driving a car near Terminal 10. Tom was sure it was Frank. Several officers rushed over and stopped the car, but the man who got out wasn't Frank. He said someone had paid him $100 to pick someone up here. I asked for who. The guy held up a sign with Tom's name on it. Frank's decoy plan had worked like a charm. 7 months later, Tom uncovered more fake checks. They were traced to airports all over the world, but this time, the checks were printed on real bank paper. His boss hadn't cared about the check fraud case before. Now he was blaming Tom for not catching Frank. Tom tracked down a bank employee who specialized in check printing. The old man said the paper used for the checks probably came from Germany, Britain, or France. After leaving the bank, Tom remembered what Frank Sr. had told him. He'd met Frank's mom in some town in France. Then it hit him. The town was called Montreal. On Christmas Eve 1967, Tom finally tracked Frank to his hideout. He burst into a check printing factory. Frank was hard at work, churning out checks nonstop. Frank was thrilled. Every Christmas Eve, he got to talk to Tom. This time, Tom told him to put on a pair of gloves. Frank tried to run, but Tom warned him, 20 cops are waiting outside. They'll blow you full of holes. Frank believed him. He put on the gloves, but there wasn't a single cop outside. Seconds later, a fleet of French police cars swarmed the place. Tom had no authority here. The French police arrested Frank and hauled him away. It wasn't until Christmas Eve 1969 that Tom returned to France. He had all the paperwork sorted out to bring Frank back to the US. On the flight home, Tom asked Frank how he'd passed the bar exam. Frank didn't answer. As the plane was about to land, Frank begged Tom to let him call his dad once they touched down. Tom didn't hold back anymore. He told Frank the truth. Your father is dead. Frank Sr. had been chasing a train when he fell off a high platform. He'd broken his neck and died instantly. Frank broke down crying. He ran to the bathroom and sobbed his heart out. He'd once been a happy kid. All he'd ever wanted was to get his family back together. But Frank knew every inch of a plane. He pretended to be a pilot for so long that he crawled through a passage under the sink and climbed out of the plane mid-flight. He landed gently on the ground and jumped down from the landing gear. This time, Frank wasn't running away. He headed straight to his mom's house. Through the window, he saw her laughing happily with her new husband. Then a little girl walked toward him. Frank asked her, "What's your name? Who's your mom?" His mom had a new family now. She even had a child with her husband. Frank didn't want to disturb them. He quickly got into a police car and drove away. The happy family of 3 at the door had no idea what had just happened. Because Frank was a minor when he committed his crimes, he was sentenced to 12 years in a maximum security prison. His high IQ got him placed in solitary confinement. Tom visited him often. On another Christmas, he brought Frank his favorite comic books. Tom was just as lonely as Frank. He'd gotten divorced a long time ago, and his daughter lived with her mom. Recently, a new check fraud case had popped up, giving Tom a massive headache. He knew he'd have to work overtime on Christmas again. Frank asked to see the fake check. When it came to forging checks, he was a pioneer. He spotted the flaws in the check right away. Tom's headache vanished instantly. Sometime later, Tom brought his boss to see Frank. They asked Frank to examine another check. Frank immediately knew it was fake. He rattled off details about the printing process and paper thickness. He even smelled the ink and said it was the kind you could buy at any stationery store. Then Tom's boss made Frank an offer, a job in the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. Frank would serve the rest of his sentence under the supervision of FBI agents. Just like that, Frank became a government employee. No exam required. He settled into a 9-to-5 routine. But how could a guy who'd made millions by 17 be content with a boring desk job? He was still young and full of energy. It wasn't long before he grew tired of the stable life. On his way home from work one day, he saw a pilot's uniform in a store window. His heart raced. The old urge to travel for free came rushing back. The next day, he cut his photo out of an ID and forged new documents with ease. Then he headed to the airport, ready to board a flight. But Tom was standing right behind him. It had taken Tom 4 years to convince his boss to let Frank out on supervised release. He'd always believed Frank wouldn't run away. Tom hadn't called any other cops. He'd come alone. He thought Frank was a good kid at heart. Then Tom turned around and walked away. The following Monday, Frank didn't show up for work. A new check fraud case was reported. Tom was examining the fake check when Frank suddenly snatched it out of his hand. He was at work after all. Tom had always had one burning question. He asked Frank, "How did you pass the Louisiana bar exam? How did you fool me?" Frank shook his head. that he told Tom the truth. "I didn't cheat. I studied for 2 weeks and passed." Frank Abagnale Jr. was a genuine genius. The character Frank was based on was the real-life Frank Abagnale Jr. by the time the movie came out. He'd been married for 26 years. He even made a cameo in the film as a French police officer. He had 3 sons and lived a quiet, happy life in the Midwest. Since his release from prison in 1974, Frank has helped the FBI catch some of the most notorious check fraudsters in history. Today, he's widely regarded as one of the world's top authorities on bank fraud.